Hey everybody, it's Brian Asbury, and I just wanted to welcome you to today's episode. If you could, like today's episode, hit that subscribe button, and let's continue to grow the Developmentally Speaking brand. Today, my guest is former WWE developmental talent and current NWA star, Mr. Jack Talos. Jack, how are you, sir?
Great today, Ryan. How about yourself, man?
Can't complain, just a busy day. So,
I can understand.
so I'm going to ask you a question you may have been asked a million times, and I apologize. What made you want to get into professional wrestling?
Man, I mean, I think I'm like most people, especially kids at like the 90s, right? Like, grew up on wrestling. I mean, like, my favorite wrestlers of all time is The Undertaker. I remember, like, the thing that hooked me, man, the thing that hooked me was absolutely, it was him and Triple H, and they brought out the coffin, and he's at the side of the ring, and he looks in, there's nothing in the coffin, he closes it back, he hears a noise, he turns around, all of a sudden the hand comes out of the coffin, grabs him by the throat. And that was it. So I was like, all right, I like this. So, I mean, and then, man, like the other side of that is like, I obviously got older and everything, but it's a whole new dynamic for me that I got to transition into wrestling from basketball and
hmm
like apply athleticism and learn a whole new skill, and it's something I've enjoyed for a long time and things of that nature. So it was that and just the idea of a whole new challenge for me. Those were the two big things.
So when did you decide that wrestling was something you were going to pursue?
So that's actually a funny story, man. I I decided because, like I said, I played professional basketball for a number of years. I was working with the Harlem Globetrotters, and that's actually how I got recruited into the WWE. Was getting seen doing that job. But it's funny because as I got recruited to do that, I was actually getting ready to submit my resume to WWE and look into wrestling schools, and that was something I was actively doing when they found me. And I kind of made the decision when I got back in with the Harlem Globetrotters because everyone had always said like, "Hey man, you should think about wrestling,"
hmm
and I was already doing a form of sports entertainment, and it just kind of made sense for me to look into it. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, I want to do this. It's like I love this stuff. Like, why wouldn't I?
Absolutely. So how did they approach you to come and do this?
So we were in Georgia doing a show, and my floor, we'll call him our floor manager for the Harlem Globetrotters, Alex Bright. Shout out, Alex. Always got to give him that shout out. He worked for the WWE for a number of years. We were there doing a show. AJ Styles decided to bring his kids to a show. Alex got him tickets. We go through the show. The show is a lot of, it's a lot of basketball, a lot of sports entertainment, but it's also a lot of me on the mic talking
hmm
with the showman. And AJ saw me do the performance, and he came up, thanks Alex for the show, and he's like, "Hey man, thanks for everything." And by the way, about that big guy, like, what's he doing? Does he like wrestling? Is that something he's into? And Alex kind of explained to him what I was in the process of doing because me and Alex talked about it. Obviously, if you worked at the WWE, I want to talk to you.
hmm
And he said, "Okay, well, hey man, I really want to meet him. Like, I think I can get him a tryout." So never forget it, man. I'm in the shower. I got soap in my eyes. All of a sudden, one of our PAs runs into the shower. He's like, Zach, get out of here. You got to. AJ Styles wants to meet you. I'm like, yeah, man, whatever. Hey, listen, I got soap in my eyes. I'm not here for the game. Go on. He's like, oh no, seriously, man. AJ Styles is outside. He wants to meet you right now. I'm like, oh, all right. I'm gonna whoop your ass if you're lying to me. So sure enough, man, I go out there and there's AJ with his two boys, and we sat and we talked, and he just kind of asked, if there's something I'd be interested in. I said absolutely. About 3 months later, maybe 2 months later, Canyon Seaman,
hmm
who work over there, gives me a call, and I come in, I do one private tryout where it's just me and a group of the guys that are already there. We do that for a week, and then they said, "Hey, we really like you, but we're probably going to bring you back for a group tryout." And I think when I say that, everyone thinks it's like the big, giant, 100-person tryouts.
hmm
No, no, no. This was like 7 guys, all of them like all American wrestlers. I was the oldest guy. it's so weird for me. Like, I was 28 at the time, but I just never expected to be the oldest guy in the room at that moment. I'm the only non-actual collegiate wrestler there. I'm the only basketball player. I'm looking around like, oh, yep. I think I'm old enough to drink in this room.
So how was
So,
that process? Was it intimidating at all?
man, the only real intimidating spot, because there was one intimidating aspect of it, because in my private tryout, I had gotten to go to one of Ryan Katz's class. And if anyone knows anything about the Performance Center, Ryan Katz helps with the development over there, especially with the character side, shall we say. And first time, and they kind of put me on the spot. It's like a group of guys. It's like 20 of them that all been there. They're doing a promo class. I didn't know what to say, man. I was completely caught off guard the first time I went. I was just like, I just was more of an introduction to me, like, hey guys, I'm Zach. Nice to meet you. And they were sorry about that, Brian.
You're fine.
I was like, hey guys, like, I'm Zach. Nice to meet you all. And so they were like, yeah, man, that's not what we were looking for. Try again next time. So the next time we come back, we actually have we have to give like a 60-second promo in front of all the producers and everything. And that was probably the most intimidating part. But I mean, doing the athletic stuff. I mean, like, again, you've done. I've been doing a sport since I was 3. So going out there and somebody telling me like, hey man, run here, hit down on this, lift this up, and jump over here. I'm like, yeah, I can do all that for sure.
How long after your initial tryout did you do the group tryout?
Probably about another 2 months. It was a 2 month thing, and then I came in and did the tryout. And like I said, the most stressful part of that was like having to cut a promo on all the guys in that tryout. They told us the day before, it was like, okay, hey, 30 to 60 seconds promo. This is what you need to get done in it, and whatever else you want to do. And that was the most stressful part. I mean, by far and away, everything else was, it was like, okay, we can do this. But, and then I guess meeting, and there's always that aspect of meeting the people you used to grow up watching, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like when you're there and you're gonna meet Scotty Dhati or Triple H, and like you're not there as a fan, like you're in there as the capacity, like asking for a job, trying to be a student of this, and like come in and do that with them. So there's that balancing act of how you're supposed to act, and I guess that's always I think personally that's more pressure on most people than a lot of things, and actually going out there and performing. Because when you get out there and perform and you're doing it, man, you're normally most of the time you're lost. Like, and I don't mean that bad. I mean like you're lost in your own thought. You're too focused on what you're doing to give too much heed to what's going on around you.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Did you know after this tryout, did you immediately get a deal or was it sometime after?
so it was kind of communicated to me after my private tryout that it was like, hey man, we really like you. We really think this is a good fit for us with you. This is just what we want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of explained to me that the reason we did the group tryout was because that was going to be more publicized. Like you would never see photos from my individual tryout. Like they didn't bring in the camera crews. They didn't record everything. You can go watch the videos. I mean, there's a whole article on the tryout we did with the wrestlers and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because they wanted that media day attention. Like they wanted to put that all out there. And I understood absolutely, right? Like that was, I feel like that was their precursor to the NIL program they have now. So that was kind of the thought process there. But it was probably about like they offered me the summer of 2019 going into the fall. I unfortunately was still under contract at that time with the Harlem Globetrotters, and that contract wasn't up until November.
Mm-hmm.
And so I came in that January of 2020.
Okay. Now, how was that transition to WWE at the Performance Center as a full-time job?
Oh, so different, right? So if you look at my tag on Instagram, man, it's Z the Tall Nomad, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason for that. That's not just some cute thing, right? I haven't lived in one place for more than 6 months. I mean, if you can count it living there, since I was, I don't know. I guess I was in college for about a year or two, but other than that, like 18, 19, like I've just been on the road, like with the Globetrotters, you're on the road 200 plus days out of the year. Before that, I played pro ball. You know, we're on the road, either in that country, in that state, wherever the hell you're playing.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was different for me. Was having to get a house, you know, settle down, and like, you know, okay, man, hey, you're here for the next however many years. That was that transition was a little odd, but honestly, man, I loved it. I mean, it just made me fall in love. Like with the transition into it, like I said, man, it allowed me to take all of these skills and physical things I had developed over the years as an athlete, and then transition them into entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
And and not just that. Like I'd always kind of been into acting and entertaining. You know, like those sort of things. Um, I'd done my best to do theater when I was younger, like tried to be in sort of things, but so it was kind of a natural fit. I got to say, wrestling was really a real natural fit for me. I don't know if I'm great or if I suck. That's more up to fans to say, but I think I'm pretty good at this.
I
Well,
agree.
thank you, man.
Working with those coaches, like you were talking about a little bit earlier, meeting all these people, how was working alongside people like that and teaching you the business?
I mean, honestly, that second part, you don't realize how valuable that second part is until you get out into the world.
Mm-hmm.
I will say, as far as the performance center goes, for those athletes that come in and have never been, they've never had to go through anything else except that caliber of training, that caliber of thing. They just don't understand what that is and what that means. I was an honor. Big shout out to Robbie Brookside, the Wildcat, Sir Robbie Brookside, because that was my first coach, man. And if I'm any kind of halfway decent wrestler, it's because of all those coaches: Robbie Brookside, Scotty Dahati, Norman Smiley, Terry Taylor, Ace Steele,
Mm-hmm.
Matt, all those guys, man. Like, and it was just such an education, and I didn't realize how great of an education it was until I got to come out here and see everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I mean, like, because it was just you come out and people like, let me tell you something. Like, there are old heads all over the world, and they can recognize if you were trained or not. Man, they see it. Like, so it was a blessing to just have that level of education and that level of training, and with some of the like again with some of my favorite wrestlers. Scotty Dahati is one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. Just so happens to be that he's a great guy too.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, it was intimidating in its own way, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
you're there with some of the best that ever did it, and you don't want to mess up, but you do, right?
Yeah. So as time went on, did they start to try to develop a character for you, something for you?
Yeah, well, that's not really how the process works unless they hand it to you on a silver platter. There are some instances where they see people where production and those
Mm-hmm.
story writers see people and be like, this is what we can do with him. We're going to give this to him. He's a perfect fit. I think the best example of that from my time is might be with Sydney. You guys with scripts,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, he came in the same time as I did. He spoke French. He was an amazing athlete, amazing acrobat, and it was just a really good fit for that sommelier character.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it's just kind of a hit and miss thing because he had that handed to him, and then it was said, okay, this is what we want to do with this. Most of the time, what happens is it's up to you.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I developed a character. It was more of a horror character, like it was Saul Says. So what was it? Saulsezz. So and it was never speaks, writing blood on the wall, that sort of thing, and just man, a lot of fun, a lot of fun. Hated working in a mask though.
I'm
Oh,
sure it was a
I don't
pain.
know how losers do it, Brian. I really have no idea how they do it.
It's got to be hot.
Mm. Breathing, bro. It's the breathing.
As time went on, and was there any plans to use you as you were developing this character?
So I got a lot of positive feedback about that character, to be honest with you, man. Like there was no, I was used a couple times, right? Like I did some stuff with like when they needed security for Ted DiBiase. That first year I was there, did a run in on WrestleMania when they did the filmed one inside the Performance Center.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as using that character and utilizing him, no. No, that was never really like like I said, all my producers liked that character.
Mm.
And I will not name names, even though some of those people aren't with the company anymore. But it was told to me basically, like when the time came, right before I got released, like, hey, there's one specific. Everyone loves this character, but there's one specific individual who does not love this character, and he's really the only one that matters. So you should get a different character. He goes like, oh, well, we kind of worked on this one for like 4 or 5 months, but whatever. These things happen.
Yeah.
You know.
Did they give when your release came? Did they give you a reason why, or was it something you saw coming?
You could not have told me it was coming. You could not have convinced me it was coming. Like I won't go into like details because there are some things in my life I like to keep more private. But I will say that every indication that I was given, like every sign that I was given, was basically we were in a good place and everything was fine.
Hmm.
The only indication I had that something was maybe a little amiss was that conversation I had about 2 weeks before I got dismissed. As far as like the reasonings I was given, well, shout out John Laurinaitis. Freaking budget cuts, kids.
Hmm.
Budget cuts. So other than that, that's all I got. But you know what? Again, I always want to make this clear as I say these things because as an athlete, you get to a point where like closure is a good thing, or at least what you need to know, you need to go work on.
Hmm.
So that's always a little upsetting for someone to just say like, "Hey, we're sorry it didn't work out. It was money, but it really wasn't money, and they're not going to give you a reason." It's like, well, now I don't have anything to go work on and get better at.
Hmm.
You got to put me in a position where like I don't know what I can improve on, especially when you're in a situation where like everyone is telling you you're doing great, you're doing fine, everything's good. So, like again, I always want to make this clear. I am not resentful. WWE taught me a whole new skill, gave me an amazing opportunity, kept me employed through the pandemic. With my experience with them was nothing but stellar. So that's just that little closing segment, and
Hmm.
that is what it is. Businesses get run, people get fired every day. Like that's just the nature of the world.
Hmm. Is that a place you would return if offered?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you got to know, man. For me, a lot of my friends exist
Hmm.
in WWE, right? Especially my wrestling friends, like the people I learned this sport with, like Zion Quinn, Odyssey Jones, Von Wagner, man. Like
Hmm.
guys like that are guys I came into the business with,
Hmm.
and you always. I don't know. I have a plethora of friends in the independents that I love, and they're great times at NWA. Like I'm very loyal, very good with them right now. I love where I work. It's a
Hmm.
great locker room. And as far as up and coming promotions go, and I say up and coming, they're the oldest on the planet. But as far as ones with the winds at their back,
Hmm.
I think NWA is one of the ones that really do have a strong wind at their back. Regardless of what some people say. Like I
Hmm.
know we've been some controversy here and there, but Jesus Christ, man, so does all of them. If we're gonna get bent out of shape over something, man, we can take our pick.
Yeah. So once your release happened, did you were going to stay in wrestling, or were you going to try to pursue something else? Or
So I was going to stay in wrestling. That was the decision I made. So the options were basically go back and play professional basketball, which is always hard to make the jump back on a
hmm.
pro level after you've been out of the game for 2 years, and the 2 years before that you weren't playing professional basketball. You were playing with the Harlem Globetrotters.
Hmm.
I thought about that. The other option was I have a couple businesses that I own and operate here in Oklahoma, and the other option was come here, drop everything, focus on those. I really decided to stay with wrestling because again, man, it was just such a natural fit for me. It was such a fun time for me, and like how can I say this? I see myself being great at this.
Hmm.
I know I have that potential. I know I have that capability. I already have the size and everything that I need to do it with. So, you know, I'm a big believer if you're going to do something, man, be great at it. And I decided to do this. So the goal is to be great at it.
Absolutely. How did the deal with the NWA come about?
Let's see. Have you ever heard of championship wrestling from Florida? I mean, from Hollywood,
Yes.
not Florida. Okay. That'd be Dave Marquez's production, in case the world ever needs any introduction to Dave Marquez. So Dave Marquez, it was actually Taylor Rust who got me connected with them. It was him and Daniel. Man, why can I not remember Daniel's last name? Hill. It's Daniel Hill. That's it. Anyways, they brought me into Championship Wrestling with Hollywood, from Hollywood. Worked with them for a while. Got my chance to work with, since we're a good friend of mine, Prince Nana. So that's actually where we got a chance. I was in the embassy with Prince Nana, Jordan Clearwater, and Invictus Cash. We did I got the double choke slam Colt Cabana. Sorry, Colt. Anyways, I did the program there for a while, and they kind of Nana and them kind of transitioned out, and I was the next in line with it. And Daniel kind of came to me and said, "Hey, I have a friend named Aaron Stevens." I was like, "All right, yeah, I knew who Aaron Stevens is. That sounds familiar." He said, "Damian Sandow, that guy? Yeah, I got you." He said, "Hey, man, well, he'd like to have a conversation with you." And so we got to talking. He was basically like, "Hey, man, work over there for a while. Let me get the opportunity for you in NWA to bring you in, and we'll go from there." And how I got there, it's the whole story. If whoever doesn't know, my partner's name is Daisy Kill, right? And the whole story with Daisy Kill and me and him as a tag team in NWA is kind of hilarious to me. So I'm in Florida doing shows with CCW, which is Coastal Championship Wrestling. And I'm there Friday, Saturday. I'm supposed to leave Sunday. I find out NWA's in town, and we start trying to get it worked out where I'm going to go to NWA. That Friday, me and Daisy are sitting there at the CCW shows, because that's what we used to talk together. We're not tagging. We've never worked with NWA at this point. And he's telling me about, like, yeah, man, I'm going to go to NWA, and, I'm going to show up and work and try to get a match. I don't necessarily always operate that way, and I know I was waiting on an invitation, and I didn't want to overstep. I was like, yeah, man, I'm not going to just show up, but if they invite me, I'll go. Saturday night rolls around. I'm getting ready to leave the state, and Aaron Stevens calls me and is like, "Zach, meet me at my hotel, 11 a.m. Sunday morning. We got you a match." I pick him up in Tampa. We go, and there's this weird vibe as soon as I walk in the building, because everyone's kind of looking at me crazy. And don't get me wrong, I'm used to being looked at, but and then like it slowly dawns on me as Aaron's telling me this story about how, like, what happened, and because he had wanted to be there like Friday and Saturday, but that wasn't going to work because they had another giant come in, like a 7'2". Again, we'll keep names out of this. They had another big guy come in, like 7'2", big scary looking dude, and they liked him. Apparently, he was not much of a, what's a polite way of saying this? A people person. We'll say he wasn't much of a people person. So he ends up going out there, not making the best impression. Pretty sure the wrestler he ended up wrestling guy ended up getting hurt. And funny enough, my part, Daisy, was actually there Saturday, ended up tagging with him. And so we'll narrow it down for you guys. So they do the match. He ends up hurting the other wrestler he's wrestling against, and there's a big hubbub in the back, and he ends up getting kicked out of there. Long story short, we'll just I'm keeping it as concise as possible. So I show up the next day, and everyone who wasn't there the day prior, all they hear about is the story about how there's this 7-foot guy, and he's an asshole. So as we're walking around the locker room, Aaron is having to stop everyone and be like, "Hey, man, listen, this isn't the bad giant. This is the good giant, different giant. Don't worry. All those stories you heard, this ain't him, man." So we would go out there, and we're going over what we might be doing for the day, and basically they want to do a repeat of the night prior, and have me and Daisy Kill tag together. And the funniest part to me is, like, me and Daisy we literally were talking about it Friday night. We were like, "Bro, what if they tag us together?" Because we'd wanted to tag together for a while, because we always thought we had the Michaels, and Diesel kind of dynamic, and we were like, "Look good." And yeah, sure enough, man, that Sunday, they were like, "Yeah, you two are gonna tag. It's gonna be the same match the other night. It's gonna be great." We're like, "Yeah, man, it's gonna be great." and the rest is kind of history, right? I mean, here we are. We're one U.S. tag title deep, going for our second shot at it, and after that, we're going after the world. So, I mean, it's a good time.
It's all
Good
worked
time.
out.
It all worked out, baby.
And that's the good thing about wrestling more than ever now. Like, just because something didn't work out a couple years ago doesn't mean that there's a door is shut necessarily.
Oh, absolutely not.
Like,
Absolutely not.
longevity is key now as to where it wasn't 20 years ago. It was on to the next, on to the next. Now they like to, it seems like, let's watch this person grow and develop.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, you see it. You see it really with. I think you see it more in the WWE with their next in line program, right? They go
Hmm.
after 22-year-olds, 25-year-olds because they want people that they know. Cool, we get them built. They're good for the next 20 years.
Hmm.
Next 20 years, we got them rolling. So I mean, I get the business model. I understand it. So
What what would you like to do next? What's in the future for you?
the thing for me right now, man, like I am 100% focused in NWA right now. I mean, we got the Crockett Cubs coming up. And obviously we're focused there. But we also know we have the U.S. titles shot coming up here soon. And our goal right now, plain and simple, is we want to go on and win the World Cup title, win the U.S. Tag Team titles. Go ahead, take those, walk into the Crockett Cup, walk out winning that. Take those, BFT. Where you at? I want those world titles. Plain and simple. I mean, I got nothing. I got no other goal in mind other than every championship belt I can get my big ass grubby mitts on. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you'll take out anybody that stands in your way, obviously.
I'm straight, baby.
Where can people reach out to you at?
Man, they can find me on Instagram at Jack underscore Talos or Z the Tall Nomad. You can also find me on the same thing at Jack Talos on X, formerly Twitter. I guess I'm supposed to say that. And YouTube, man, TikTok, although that won't be around much longer, I hear. Until TikTok won't be existing for much longer, so maybe don't look there. But other than that, man, like I said, with the CW app, you can catch NWA on the CW app. It's free. Download it for free with the app. Watch it anytime. You know, I get a little bit of that royalty check, so y'all make sure you tune in. All right.
If you had
So,
any advice to give to anybody getting into professional wrestling, what would it be?
get the right education. Get it early. Don't settle. And I'm always cautious because I know plenty of guys who turned out fine like this. But don't settle for some weird guy in his basement that says, I've been wrestling for 20 years, but who were you taught by? No one. Where have you wrestled? Nothing. Nowhere. Get the right education. If you're really interested in doing this, be careful about who you listen to and don't quit, man. I mean, there's going to be moments, especially if you choose this career path,
Hmm.
that you'll question everything. And, those are the days you just got to dig in. And if this is really for you, you'll say, this is for me, and you'll, whatever it takes, whatever decision you have to make, So, but those would be my two big things. Like, don't give up and get educated right. Learn how to take a bump, learn the right way to get up, learn all the little stuff. Wrestling's not just about spots. If it was, I wouldn't have a
Don't get that 2 weeks of training and then you're a pro and do that battle royal.
bro. When I tell you I've watched kids leave with more busted open heads out of a battle royale than training for 3 months. I mean, that's I'm confident. Of all the hardcore matches I watch,
Hmm.
that will be how I watch someone die the first time in wrestling.
Hmm.
We'll be watching one of these green boys after 3 months get thrown out of the ring and around at a Royal Rumble. Uh,
Well, I just want to say thank you for taking some time out today. Thank you for what you've done for professional wrestling and what you continue to do, sir. It's been an honor. I'm glad we could sit down and talk a little bit about your career today.
Likewise, man. Hey, man, I really appreciate it. Really appreciate people like yourself getting out there, getting the information, getting it out to people, man. You make stuff like this possible for me, and I appreciate it.
Thank you. If there's ever anything I can ever do, please feel free to reach out.
Most definitely will do. Thank you so much, Brian. Thanks,
Thank you.
guys.